was all over the place. I mean, he did everything.
Happy. What day is it, Kim? What day is it? Thursday? What?
His father was named.
Yeah. Happy Thursday, everybody.
Every first child.
We are at Bailey Land. Look at this guy.
Was Jess. My aunt was Jean.
Every one of them did.
Look at this guy. All right.
Hey, you got a business.
We're going to get out of here. I don't want them hearing what I got to say. We're going to stand in the rain. We're going to do coffee with Kenny. All right. So Kenny and I just went to Rockingham. And the story is amazing. And Kenny's on his phone. Hey, this is perfect. You come over here with me? All right. This is Coffee with Kenny, Thursday morning. This is our dear friend, John Bailey. And we just went to Rockingham. And the JD McDuffie team, will you hold my coffee? This is all about JD McDuffie. So I got my JD McDuffie shirt. So Dale Jr. would love this. So the story goes is, how far are we from Michigan International Speedway right now?
15 minutes.
John Bailey, everybody. Bailey Excavating. You used to sponsor JD McDuffie's cars. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, but he's one of the good ones. John is one of us. He's got a beautiful family, married, 2 kids. And so here's the story we're going. So Kenny Schrader saves.
You're gonna be a star, John Bailey.
No, yeah, but this is a good story. You might want to be here. Okay, so Kenny does the sport of service, in my opinion. He buys up everybody's. He bought Dick Trickle's old hauler. Talking about how you all became friends.
Oh, yeah.
He bought Dick Trickle's old hauler. Then Kenny Schrader buys JD McDuffie's old hauler.
He beat me out at the auction.
Okay, now, this is where I want you to take over. This is a story about JD McDuffie's hauler. Kenny Schrader buys. Kenny likes history. Okay, so tell us, let's stand under this. Okay, tell us the story about Kenny Schrader getting JD McDuffie's hauler. I want to know the whole deal.
So my dad bought the truck for JD when he was sponsoring him. And when I went and traveled with JD for about a year, that was my job, taking care of the truck. And it got lost after the accident in Watkins Glen. And then Jean got it back, and it was in the shop. And then finally, when she had the auction in '94, I called the auctioneer and says, I got to have that truck. That was my job, taking care of that truck. I drove that truck to California. And I said, what do you think it'll bring? And he says, well, $3,500. I says, well, so I got a bank note for $7,500. He put somebody in the crowd because I couldn't be there. And so I figured we were going to get the truck and bring it home to Michigan. And called him up the next morning and said, did we get Old Blue? And he says, you're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe this. NASCAR superstar Kenny Schrader sent somebody down there and put him in the crowd and said, don't leave without that truck, he says.
And you're like, that son of a... So now at this time, you don't even know Kenny Schrader.
No.
So what happens? Do you make a phone call to Schrader?
Well, I called down to Hendricks. I says...
Oh, because Schrader's driving for Hendrick at this time. No wonder Schrader had so much money. He drive for Hendrick.
So I said, I need to speak with Kenny Schrader. And he said, well, he comes in here about once a day, but I'll give you his shop number. So I called over to his shop, and he was on the road going to out west for a late model race or
Kenny
something.
always traveling.
And he stopped and called me back from some truck stop in Texas. And I said, hey, I really need to have that truck. And he says, no, I've always...
Hi, Julie.
Always wanted.
Hold on, this is his missus. So we're doing coffee with Kenny on the story of how he ended up getting JD's truck. So, okay, Schrader's out going out the West Coast. He calls you.
From truck stop, before cell phones. He says, no, I've always wanted that truck. He says, so...
Annie, we're telling the story of how he ended up with the truck. It's a good story. We got a lot of drive-bys.
So then we became friends, and he still didn't want to get rid of the truck. And then he called me up one day and says, I got Daddy's tow truck back.
His dad's Bill.
Dad.
Bill Schrader. So Kenny, that was a big deal. He got Bill Schrader, his father's tow truck back. Okay.
And he says, I know what old blue means to you. Come and get it. I had to buy it, but
Yeah, but Schrader's always going to do things with heart and fairness.
he picked us up at the airport, give us a car to drive, got us.
Yeah.
We sent a wrecker after it. It didn't have any brakes. Never had any brakes.
What do you think your dad paid? So your dad was the original owner of JD McDuffie's hauler. What do you think your father paid for that?
About $7,500.
I'll be darned. Yeah.
But it was only, 5 or 6 years old then.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So, John, thank you. John Bailey, his wife Julie, the kids, and by the way, Pure, everything in Michigan. You come in the state of Michigan and you see Pure, and your boys tell me that Pure means your weather's crazy. What does Pure mean?
No, that used to be before it was Union 76. It was Pure.
But when you come in the state of Michigan, when you're on the road,
That's Pure, Michigan.
yeah, what does that mean? What does Pure mean? You don't know.
Not really sure.
He's like us.
It's pure.
It's pure. It's clean, baby. Okay, so if you don't mind, we're going to roll in there real quick. Tell me, you don't got to go with me so much, but I want to roll in there. I want to look at this red JD McDuffie Pontiac that you have. What's the story behind that Pontiac?
So that was the car he drove 2 months before he died at Watkins Glen.
I'm sorry.
And
Man.
some guy in a Square D car was lapping him on lap 264
And how do you remember that?
and got into the back of it and knocked him out of the race. And,
Hold on, are you kidding? I wrecked JD?
well, he was probably in your way.
Oh my God, I feel horrible. That's what you were trying to tell me last night.
That's why I sent you the picture on the rollback.
Oh,
You can watch it on YouTube.
Dear Lord, please forgive me my sins. I love you. Okay, so hold on now. I want all of you to play along. Respond right here. So we can go on YouTube right now. Can you watch him? You watch me getting into JD
Lap 264.
at Watkins Glen?
No, at Dover.
At Dover. Oh, I am so sorry. Man, I should have.
You were going twice as fast.
I should have had better control of my car.
You were going
I'm
twice
sorry.
as fast. He was just down. He was saving his tires.
Yeah, well, we all love JD because he was right there, with the original. What did we call those race car drivers? Independents, where they could say, hey, I can run 10th. I'm going to lose money. If we run 20th and we don't put on a couple sets of tires, we're going to make money today.
Or wear the motor out.
So back then, independents raced for a living. Great story, Kyle Petty tells me. Kyle Petty says, Diddy, that's what they call their dads down south, Diddy said, run these leaf springs over to Buddy Arrington. Kyle Petty says, I take these used parts over to Buddy Arrington's house, and he's got this, Kyle says, it looked like a mansion to him. He said, at that day, Kyle Petty said, it dawned on me, we were racing for a living and we were broke. The independents were racing for a real living. Winners, here's the bottom line here. Winners spend all their money on winning and they're broke. Independents were smarter. They're like, okay, we could win, but we got family. We got to feed. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I lived with him on and off for about a year, and
That's the way it was?
That's the way it was.
Wow, that's pretty heartfelt, everybody. Okay, we're going to end this video by just going inside and doing a 360 of the great JD McDuffie's car. And John, we love you.
So that car was bought at the same auction that the truck was bought at.
Yeah.
And it went to Texas and got put back together, and it was in a Quaker Steak and Lube restaurant, hanging from the
Isn't that
ceiling.
amazing how that great stuff just gets lost?
And a friend of mine, Dean Richardson, we found it on Craigslist, and he went down and got it.
Wow. Okay, we're gonna end like this, everybody. It's time to go eat. We're gonna go do a quick 360. We're doing we just had a great story. Kim, say hello. We're going to eat lunch, but here it is, everybody. Look at this. And the seats back in those days, as we all know, that was Earnhardt made that seat famous. Wasn't that off of like an old Ford Mustang? weren't those seats like old?
Wasn't it a Ford Valiant?
Yeah.
The Valiant.
So this seat originated from a Ford, and Earnhardt was famous for those. That's the seat that they all ran back in the day.
That was the seat that JD drove in.
That's the seat.
Here's where the cables hung up from the ceiling.
Oh my God. Well, at least it's still there.
It's going on Old Blue.
You're going to put this on Old Blue? Where is Old Blue?
Down the street.
I'll be damned. Okay, well, we got to go eat. Let's do a quick 360 here. There's some really good stuff. JD, look at that. Is that Schrader? No, that's Finley.
That was a Schrader car.
Yeah. All right, we're going. We're going. Let's go. Okay, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. And the Baileys are wonderful people. What a great story about the legendary JD McDuffie. Have a great Thursday.